All right, greetings and salutations, test takers. This is the Series 7 Guru, also known as Dean Tenney, coming to you from my studio in fabulous Las Vegas. We have our always very, very special guest, Brian Lee, managing member, Test Geek Exam Prep LLC. I think of him as the Test Geek himself. We're here to answer any content questions you have. We're here every Tuesday, 5 p.m., broadcasting to Facebook. We're broadcasting to LinkedIn. We're broadcasting to X. And our primary platform we love the best is YouTube. Tell us what series exam you're taking, where you're joining us from, and we'll get some housekeeping done, and then we will answer any contest questions you have. If you don't have any content questions, chat amongst yourselves and victorious test takers. Enjoy some fun and fellowship with people in a similar situation as yours. The best free supplement to your paid study materials is my YouTube channel. And it's organized in series playlists. So you find your series, SIE, for example, 3 playlists, lectures. Second playlist is practice tests and practice questions. Third playlist, podcast. Those are in suggested watch order. The videos in them are in suggested watch order. If you're looking for a particular topic, Brian and I get asked the same question over and over again in these live streams. And you can just go to the channel search bar and you can put in margin or accrued interest or, whatever it is, and up will come all the contents available from that. Don't feel free to ask questions this evening, but if you're looking for a particular topic, that would be the way to go. If you're looking for a paid supplement, a great paid supplement is the Kaplan Q-Bank. I think it's best in class. It has, manipulations you can make in terms of the performance tractor and customized quizzes. And you can get any Kaplan product, but I highly recommend that one, with a 15% discount at checkout by using the discount code GURU15. I think the thing to add to that as a paid supplement is Brian, Test Geek Exam Prep LLC, has been kind enough to grant our viewers a 20% discount on his content. One of the challenges on my channel is there's over 1,000 hours of videos there, and it's not been distilled. It's all over the place. Brian is very conscious in his video course, which is about $100, is going cover to cover, and he doesn't talk about anything that's not testable. So just heavy test content. So I would combine that with the Q-Bank. All in with Brian with the discount for his whole thing, I think is about $100, a little over $100, Brian, with that discount.
103. Yeah.
There you go. If you miss our Tuesdays, it's available as a podcast. And we do a drawing at the end of the hour. The drawing tonight has to be claimed within an hour, and you have your choice of joining me in the evening for a class on unethical business practices or an evening class on balance sheets. I did want to give you an update on settlement changing. On May 28th, everything's going to be T+1, and that's going to be a wonderful thing. Now, Brian and I are OGs. We've been around a long time. When I came into the business, Brian, it was T+5. Was it T+5 when you came in, or T+3? So we don't get rattled when these changes come because we've seen these changes before. And typically what FINRA does when they're making a change like this is they take out the questions that are affected. Confirmation this week. I haven't had anybody this week testing, seeing any settlement questions. And then what they do is they reload, repopulate with questions that reflect those changes. And they don't even then count for scores because they're being tested for validity. So May 28th is that changeover. I wouldn't expect you to see any questions for a while on it. But what would that affect? So, one of the things that will affect is the X date is now the same as the record date. So, that whole derp thing goes poof, right? Remember, the X date is the first date on which the stock no longer trades with the dividend attached. That's still what it is. But if it was one business day prior and now it's T+1, it's going to be the same day, right? Another thing that would be affected, not really, because Brian and I have seen this as well, is this Reg T, where Reg T says we got to give customers 2 additional days. That hasn't changed. Customers still get 2 additional days. So that now makes that T+3. So, this is just Brian and I musing about how would this affect your existing content. Okay, so another question you used to get is about equity options and the distinction between settlement of the option contract T+1 and the exercise being T+2. But now, if you exercise, that would still be T+1. So now in equity options, if you get questions about exercise, you won't get them, right? I say for a while. But when you do, you would have to deliver the cash or securities the following business day, right? And another one, again, just Brian and I am using about how these changes would affect existing testable content is we say that confirmations must be delivered by settlement completion of the trade. And again, that hasn't changed. It's just now that settlement would be T+1. So when you think about like calculating accrued interest, it's still from the last time it paid interest up to, but not including settlement. It's several months from now. If you get a accrued interest question, you would be not, if it was trade date, you'd go 1 instead of 2. Brian, can you think of anything else that we need to go over?
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking. The dividends and the ex-dividend date and accrued interest on Series 7.
There you go.
That's pretty much it.
I think so. I think it's not worth the stress that people are putting themselves under.
So. Well, no, because we know there's not going to be new questions come May 28th. Right? They're just going to take out the old ones. We know this. And the new ones don't cycle in for, 6 to 9 months?
Yeah, that 73 change on the Secure Act, what was that, like a year?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's see what we got going on. That's from StreamYard. I've never had StreamYard send me something. Live viewer comments show up on StreamYard. This is an example, huh? Click it and show it on the screen. I guess I just clicked it and showed it on the screen. Okay, great. Got Brian's 7 course from Madison. Excited to make use of it. I'm excited for you too. If anybody can turn the potatoes into high-end vodka through distillation, it is Brian. So I'm happy for you. I'm glad to know you have that resource. Not a time to get frugal on resources. If you have the resources, not a time to be frugal. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for the super chat. We probably should put people who get super chats get to go to the front of the queue for questions. You're welcome. You have your SIE and your 6 done. We're on the 63. Well, you got 2 testing victories. Congratulations. And 1 more to complete that hat trick. We do have a Facebook group called Baby Brokers Doing Hat Tricks. Baby brokers are the term of endearment we use for rookies in the securities industry. And the hat trick is 3 successes in a limited time frame. And we have, people doing those hat tricks, getting the 3. So it looks like you're on the last leg there of your hat trick, right? 1 more for the hat trick. Marcel, one of my favorite people. You never win. He's joking. For those of you who are not regulars to our live stream, Marcel has won the drawing 3, 4, 5 times. I owe him 20 hours of tutoring. So we're trying to get Marcel out here to Las Vegas so Brian and I can take him to the steakhouse at the Suncoast.
He missed our dinner Sunday night, didn't he?
Yes, we did dinner, Marcel, at Hawthorne steak dinner. But I ended up being the only guy to get a steak.
Stacy had scallops.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Filet, we did a filet. Oh, it was really good. We have a guy there, Marcel. I just love. He's just old school Vegas guy, and I gave him a $100 bill because I just love the guy. I mean, he knows how to tie his tie correctly. Brian got the bar excited because you want to give him your line, Brian?
Yes. Because this guy's been around Vegas since the 50s. I mean, the guy must be 86 years old. And as we were leaving, I said, I just shook the hand of a man who shook the hand of Frank Sinatra. The whole bar just turned around what?
That was fun. That was a fun night. Brian helped you through the 766. I didn't find you until the 66. Semper Fidelis. So you're a Marine as well. Once a Marine, always a Marine. First attempt, 1 more leg for your testing hat trick. For your first 2 victories. Yeah, Marcel, Mom drives me nuts, Marcel. I told her to stay out of the garage, and I'm teaching a 66 class. I hear this thump, 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 and Mom took a fall in the garage, and I had to go get her. Figure out she's fine. She's good. But I said, man, I built an off-grid place, Marcel, and Mom wants to move out there. And I said, there's no way, because if you fall down in Vegas, I call 911, fire guys show up in 2 minutes. Out there, it takes an hour and a half. All right. Question 1. So Ryan's got question 1. You brought Brian's Series 63 class. If I memorize the chart for person BDD, I don't know what that is.
Broker
BD,
dealer.
I think it just means agent, etc. Learn all the topics. Should I be in pretty good shape? You say what to that, Brian?
No, that is not all of it. You've got to have the ethics part of it as well. To me, there's really 3 parts. That's one of them, and it's a big part. The persons, the registration and definition of persons. The second part are powers of the administrator. What he can do, what he can't do, those kind of things. And then the third part, which is a fairly large part, is the ethics under NASAA's Statement of Policy of Unethical Behavior of Broker-Dealers and Agents. That's a big part. So it's not just about persons. It's a big part of it, but it's not about persons.
I like that. Well, King Boxing, you must have checked in later. We're getting your thing late. We just literally went over the changes based on that changeover. This will be a video replay, and I will split or splice and have that overview Brian and I did as a separate video available. So check that out. We did that the first, I don't know, what was it, 5 minutes? We went over that. So it's at the front of this video. I don't know if you can rewind when it's live. Maybe you can, but don't worry about it because I'll splice it and it'll be a separate video.
I plan on putting up a YouTube video here in the next couple of days.
Cool. There you go. So Brian has a YouTube channel. He has free stuff too, not only paid stuff. So Test Geek has a YouTube channel. He's got some good free stuff up there. If you're taking a 24, I'm serious. I just think this is so funny. Brian has a video for 24 on buy-ins and sellouts. And when people are struggling, I just send them that video. And I can't tell you how many times they call me and go, oh, that changed my life.
However, might that change with the new settlement?
Yeah. I think, well, no, I don't think so, because it would be based on settlement, right? The buy and sell.
It's still based, yeah, it's based on settlement.
The dates would change, but not the
dates would change, yeah.
All right, I love it. We want you to collect on it. We certainly do. We certainly do. Graduated from college around a year ago this last weekend. Got my SIE in January, life and health in March. Taking the 7, June 7th. Just finished Brian's 7 course. Going to rip through practice exams next to. I love it. Sounds like you're right where you need to be.
That's perfect.
You've got the resources you need. So love it. Hello, Erica. Hello. Now, Erica Jones, are you related to Edward D. Jones? No, I'm joking. Edward D. Jones is one of the broker dealers that is organized as a partnership. There's not many anymore that are organized as partnerships rather than C Corps. So, looks like she's got some more here. I'm testing Friday for the 65 for the second time. Took a practice exam today and made an 81. Fantastic. Do you remember? Listen, another practice exam final before Friday. So, Erica, I don't know why people don't listen to us, or in this case, listen to me. I'm working with a young lady, and I told her that I don't want her to take more than 1 practice exam a day. I literally told her that on Sunday. So Monday, I said, when you get done with the practice test score, send it to me. And you've got time to do 2 more. So I'm going to answer your question in a minute. And I'll be damned, Brian. She did 4 practice tests yesterday.
You're kidding me.
And the only one of them did she dip below the mid-70s that we wanted. And guess which practice test that was?
Number 4.
Waste of her time. And not only that, Erica, it damaged her psyche. Because I had to tell her, hey, get back. If I got to call her after the live stream tonight and say, hey, no. Part of me is mad. Part of me wants to help her. So if you're testing Friday, today is Tuesday. What do you think, Brian? 1 more practice exam for Erica?
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. That's a great score. You just want to get a mark, just confirm it. I would say, Eric, you just need to stick the landing at this point. And I'm going to give Brian his board because it looks like he's got some things he wants to go over.
Well, I believe every week, Dean, you and I both go through this. We're both big believers. You're not taking practice finals for the sake of taking practice finals.
Yes.
You're taking practice finals to measure where you currently are and where your weak areas are so that we can then fill in some of those holes. right? So we alternate between a practice final on day one, let's say, right? And then we run the performance tracker to identify and work on our weak areas. Day three, we just start the process over, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So notice you're only taking one practice final a day, right? You've already been through 2,700 practice questions, right? We don't need to take 4 practice finals in a day. Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah. So, and the other thing, Eric, is you got a great score, and she did as well. So, we're not as worried. We want to do more intellectual inventories if we're concerned and we're trying to get into that 75 range, but it looks like you're pretty good. So if you're testing Friday, that means I think Wednesday, I think I'd leave it up to you. I'd love to be able to in this position and say, Erica, up to you. If you think it's productive to do one more practice test, get a final mark, then by all means do it. But if you think that's going to damage your psyche, I'd stick with my 81. By the way, and I wouldn't be concerned if the 81 becomes a 75. As long as we're in that we have that altitude, we're fine, right? We just don't want to do, in this case, go down into the 60s just because you're tired. So I would say no more than one, and then keep it low key on Thursday. Review your notes. Brian has a PDF. If you have Brian stuff, just do low key stuff. So I think you're in good shape.
And another reason we're not doing multiple exams a day is we don't want to memorize the publisher's test questions, right?
Yeah.
Because we know they're not going to look anything alike on the real test. Concepts are all there. Answer choices are worded differently.
Yeah. So Eric, I'm so with Brian. It's very rarely do we have somebody who does everything we suggest, get the scores we're looking for, like 80 plus, and still not make their mark. In almost every situation I've seen, and I'll ask Brian his thoughts, it's usually somebody who is getting marks that are a reflection of memorizing vendor questions rather than understanding the concept itself. And so you want to try and avoid it. I know it's difficult, but you want to go, oh, I see this one, it's B, it's C, it's D. Now that's the other reason Erica, like the Kaplan Q-Bank. It can happen with Kaplan Q-Bank, but it's more difficult because there's more questions. I love my friends at STC. I just did a STC practice test, and they give me permission to do some of their content on the channel. But the Q-Bank, it doesn't have the depth, and so it's easier to memorize STC questions, for example. So I hope that was helpful, Erica. We think you're in a good spot. I would just say Hippocratic Oath. We first do no harm to yourself. We don't want to do any harm to you. As they say in football, you want to be matriculating down the field into scoring position, right? No math on the 6. So debrief. Ryan said no math on the 6 last week. Not a single math question. We think on all exams, Ryan, the test takers think they're going to get a lot more math than they actually end up getting. I would go so far as to say that I don't think math is every material to somebody missing their mark. I mean, if they tell me they missed every math question and that's why they missed their mark, Now the 6, I might get a pop NAV, but yeah, what do you think, Brian?
We've been telling people that for 20 years. It's not about the math. It's the textbooks that kind of intimidate people with some of those formulas that they constantly throw in there.
And the other thing,
it's not about math skills.
The other thing I don't like about the math, Brian, we just love confirmation like yours. Hey, by the way, I guess you passed. The other thing is that confidence is so key on the exams. And when I get so irritated, Brian, with the test prep vendors in that math, is that it can make people get wobbly.
Yeah.
And then they go down some rabbit hole, and then, they're in a place. Like we were just talking to Eric about her 65, right? I would tell you, Erica, like analytical methods, a general understanding of input and output. You don't have to be a mathematician. Hello, Ivy. How are you, my friend? Taking the 66 tomorrow. I passed the SIE and the 7. Woo-hoo! Strictly from the videos. Well, we do have enough content there. Today, Brian told the guy, I don't know if I should have said this to him, but I wanted some SIE help. And I said, listen, a lot of people use my SIE playlist as their paid study materials, their primary study materials, or they're paid as the backup. So we have a lot of content there. So, you just got to, like I say, pick your places where you want. So 66, where you're doing that tomorrow. All right. So make sure you get a good night's sleep tonight, because I don't know about you, but when I'm tired, my reading skills are greatly diminished. And boy, that NASA exams, you got to read the full question, RTFQ, as we say, RTFA, you got to read the full answer set. And that looks like if you can get that tomorrow, and I think you will, then you'll have your hat trick. You'll have your SIE, your 7, your 66. That's a hat trick, 3 successes in a limited time frame. Woohoo! Should we say they're no longer a baby broker when they get that done? What do we?
That's right. Well, after the first sale, let's do that.
General concerns about exempt transactions and securities. You want to talk about that, Brian?
Yeah, I was just going to say, didn't we just talk about that before we came on?
That's what we're here, though. So again, it's like Erica. First, do no harm, Hippocratic oath. I'll first take a shot at it. AKIF, that's kind of a cool name. I hope I'm not mispronouncing that. I like that, AKIF. I think of exempt transactions as a verb. It's the way we're selling it that makes it exempt. And I think of exempt securities as a noun. It's literally a list. Now, I like Brian's phraseology about this. What Brian thinks of when he hears the word non-exempt securities is corporate securities. And I so love that, Brian, because that gets rid of trying to memorize the laundry list, right?
That's right.
But we know that non-exempt means it ain't a government security, it ain't a muni, it ain't whatever, right? So that's the way I think of it. And now Brian has gone to his board, so let me give him his board layout there. The board is yours, Brian.
I went through this twice today in my sessions, right? And again, I start everybody off with basic definitions, because oftentimes when you've spent the last 3 months with 600 pages of text, 2,718 practice questions, it just seems like 1,000 concepts randomly dispersed all over the place. Where for me, and I don't know, I guess I'm lucky, I was born this way, I kind of organize them into boxes, into categories for retention, to help me remember these things.
You know what I call them, Brian? I call them buckets. I organize it in buckets.
That's right.
Bucket, that bucket.
I think of a little guy up here running around in a cashmere sweater, running up the stairs, looking for the file and where this concept lies. That's kind of how I do.
Yeah.
Anyway, and you're exactly right. This is all legalese. None of us talk this way in the real world. So you got to learn the legalese. Non-exempt securities, right? That means securities that must follow the law. And essentially all that is are corporate securities, i.e. stocks and bonds. These are all the securities you and I are all familiar with, right? Guess what? Stocks and bonds have to follow law, have to be registered, have to provide prospectuses, disclosure, all that stuff. These are exempt from those laws. They do not need to register. And again, as Dean said, these are things. They're nouns, they're stocks, they're bonds. These are corporate, these are non-corporate. These must be registered and follow the law with certain exceptions. And that's if it's done in a very narrow way. In a way that doesn't involve the general public, the lawyers would then say, okay, we'll let you do it this time. We'll let you sell this corporate stock unregistered because it's a very limited situation. And that is if it's unsolicited, if it's between two financial institutions, if it's in a private placement. Notice that's an action, a verb, private placements.
The way we're selling it.
The way we're selling it. And we call these exempt transactions. This allows us, check this out. I love, this is my favorite saying. This allows us to sell an unregistered, non-exempt security.
I love it.
An unregistered corporate stock or bond. That's really what it is.
Yeah, love it. Love it, Brian. Excellent job. Love it. Hope that was helpful. I mean, that's worth a couple points at least.
Probably a little bit more on the 66 than the 65.
I think so.
I see this once, maybe twice. 66, maybe.
Well, I was teaching a 66 class today. We're on the second day, and this is what I say, Brian, and I'll, throw it back to you. I say that in this category of registrations, so today we talked about registering the security. If not, why not? registering broker-dealers and agents of broker-dealers, registering investment advisor rep. In that category, I'm with Brian. As it relates to the securities, I would think 2 or 3. Right. As it relates to the broker-dealer, maybe 2 or 3. I think of those registration questions, there's going to be more on registering an investment advisory firm and registering an investment advisor rep. And that's there, right. I would think, 4 to 6, Brian? What do you think?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. So again, 65, 66 persons, securities, 63 more on the broker-dealer side than the IA side. Really the only difference between the 63 and 65. Yeah.
Hey, all right. You're using my Series 7 podcast. I love that. So that podcast is available as well as this is a podcast, not only on YouTube, but also on Spotify. So you can find the podcast series on both Spotify and YouTube. With the settlement questions being taken out now for rule change, what kind of questions would replace them? Oh, gee, if we knew that, we could sell that information for a lot of money. I don't think there'll be new ones, Jared. I just think there's a random draw from a bank of questions, and I don't think they're going to put new questions in there. They're just going to continue to use the random draw and then add those back in at a later date. So they're going to not replace them as much as, restore them after they've been updated, right? So I don't think we would think of it replacing the questions. It just restoring. Let's say the QBank, I don't know what Kaplan's QBank, how deep it is, but pretty damn deep would be my guess. So if we're removing, a dozen questions from a QBank of 5,000, doesn't matter because it'll again just repopulate with your 135. So your thoughts the same as mine on that, Brian?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't think they use this as an excuse to ask you new stuff. I think they just, you just continue to use the questions they have available.
It's very scientific about the level of risk so that everybody's actually taking the same risk level on the exam. So they can't just randomly change questions tomorrow. And by the way, do they do it midnight New York time or do they do it at midnight Honolulu time, right?
Yeah.
So they just don't randomly.
That's the point about testing for validity. So testing for validity means when they reintroduce or put in new questions, they don't count until they've actually been scored for validity. Validity means people are getting them right. The majority of people, if they fail validity, then they come out of the QBank. They remove them. Right. Oh man, that hurts. That hurts. Isaac, I will put in the video description a link to my video podcast called "You Failed. Is It Over?" Spoiler alert, it is not. It is not. And I have 5 recommendations about how you should respond to that misfortune. So check it out. First thing, Isaac, as you want to do a debrief while the hurt is fresh with yourself to kind of say, okay, is there something here that caused me to miss the mark? Was it a bad draw? Was it knowledge deficit? What was it? And then I would, give yourself permission to take a refresh and reset and then make your new attack. I would want you to get a new test date as soon as possible. You have to wait 30 days, but, get that right away because with missing it by a point, we should be able to get that point back and get this thing done. In the scheme of things, it's not going to be a big deal once you get it done. Brian, your comments on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, look at the test printout. There's only 2 content areas. Look at which one was your weak spot. Was it the definition and registration of persons, the laws and regs section, or was it the ethics section? Find the content outline that breaks those 2 sections down. And just like Dean said, take the mental inventory on that content and see where, put your plus minus 0 next to it if you want to.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest.
First place.
I hate those high misses. I mean, it's like it's almost more exasperating. Benita, you guys help me pass the SIE and the Series 6 and the 63. Oh, I forgot Brian has bundles. I got to start chatting that up so much. His bundle package. What's the deal on the bundle? Do we get it's 100?
I believe it's 20% off the retail of each separately.
Okay, and are most of them priced pretty much the same, or
there's only 2 bundles because the platform only allows me to put 2.
Oh,
and once you use one in one bundle, you can't use it in another bundle. So
wow,
I'm kind of limited by the Teachable platform.
Yeah, we need to.
There's only 2
Wait,
bundles.
let's go find you a new platform and let's let's refresh some of that.
Boy, this guy has brought me a long way. I'd be hard pressed to change this guy. I like the teachable platform.
Read the manual, fantastic. I don't know why people don't want to read the book. That's how I start everything. Or I read the book. But by the way, when I'm teaching, I don't read the book to people because I assume you can read the book. But we have people who have videos called "Explaining the Book." I'm like, oh, okay. So, I read the manual. Q-Bank questions. Let's see. It looks like a 2-parter. Is it time to start reviewing in the 63 bundle package you purchased from Brian? So let's just go back. Hey, Dean and Brian, you guys help me. The SIE 6 is done. Studying for 63. She purchased 6 and 63. The way I'm understanding, Brian, she's done with the 6. She's read her 63 manual. I don't know. Q-Bank questions. Deanie, are you telling us you're scoring between 70 and 75 on practice tests? Am I understanding that correctly? Is it time to start reviewing that? I would say yes to that, Brian, if I'm understanding that correct. What would you say?
Yeah, I tell people that the process really doesn't change based on which test you're taking. The process is pretty much the same for each one, right? Get through the textbook, which sounds like you've done, right? And then after each chapter, you want to do 10 or 15 questions for a reinforcement after each chapter and build upon that. After chapter 2, you want to do 1 and 2 together. After chapter 3, you want to do 1, 2, and 3 together, right? You build and reinforce, right? Then you get the distillation, right? This is what I do. So I take all that general random knowledge from the textbook and then narrow it down to what is most likely testable. I am the bridge, as Dean is, the bridge between the textbooks and the real test. Once you get that distillation, then you want to take inventory. Where are we? What's the weak areas? That kind of thing. So that process doesn't change no matter which
From exam to exam.
Right?
And yeah, and you got your testing victories already, so you should feel pretty good, Benita. You got
right.
one more leg.
Trust the process.
For the hat trick. Hat trick coming up. Hat trick coming up. Well, gee, I'm glad to hear that you're excited. I like that. Beauty and stocks. I like that. Beauty and stocks.
I like it.
Excited for today's live. Thanks for your help and time. It's our pleasure. That's what we're here for, is to help test takers. I know, Brian, you won't be surprised. I got into it on social media today. And the person was asking for help on the SIE, and it wasn't on my subreddit. It was on somebody else's subreddit. And then I provided the help on my Reddit. And then the guy said, "Oh, you're soliciting people from on my platform." And I go, "No, listen, you got it backwards. I didn't solicit anything. The solicitor was the test taker. He was soliciting help for aid." And I responded to that. And then I felt like a superhero. I said, regardless of where test takers may be, if they are soliciting for aid, I will show up. I will answer. I will respond.
Beauty and stocks, we're excited to be here today. Just like
we're excited too. How much carryover is there from the SIE, the 6, the 63, 65? Well, one of the reasons Ryan and I say we want to overlearn things is because there will be overlap. And assuming you overlearned and didn't come out wobbly on any of those, I would think there would be substantial overlap. You're not going to get overlap on balance sheets, for example. That's going to be new. You're going to have to do that, analytical methods. But I think the economics is very much overlap. The 63 regulations are overlap. So I think you should feel pretty good. What say you, Brian? I would think analytical methods would be the big difference. Is that what you
the SIE and the Series 6 are going to have a pretty strong overlap. Dean and I privately, now you didn't hear this from me. We oftentimes say that once you pass the SIE, you're almost about 80% past the Series 6. We believe that there's a lot of correlation and carryover between the SIE and 6. I wouldn't quite say that with the 7, but the 6, absolutely. The Series C, 63 and 65, not related to this much at all because it's laws and regs, advisory procedures and ethics, but they do correlate to one another because they're laws.
Particularly on the Uniform Securities Act part of it.
That's right. Yeah. So,
I think you got some different. There's more balance sheets, Ryan, on analytical methods. You're going to get balance sheet stuff on the 65. But I think it's good.
more extensively.
I would say it this way. I don't know if you'd agree with this, Brian. I would say he doesn't have any sunken intellectual costs from his SIE and his 6 and 63 as he goes into his 65.
That's correct.
So while Brian just told you there's no overlap as much, I totally agree with him on that. But the economics are pretty much the same. Fiscal, monetary policy, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
65, McAleen, define suitability. Should we go with the obvious answer that matches a customer? Listen, let me start again, McLean. This is so fun. I am one of the few people doing this that does teach test-taking tricks. And the test-taking tricks are only to be used when all else fails. I have never said you should not learn this information. But when you don't know, then we would go to one of our test-taking tricks. Now, even Brian, and I tell you how much I love his Test Geek exams. Brian, sometimes when he's writing a question, will start with his right answer, his question, his right answer, and then he'll reverse engineer his distractors. Those are the technical name for his wrong answers. And so when test writers are doing that, sometimes they end up with the right answer being, as Dean says, too long to be wrong. But that is only a test-taking trick to be used. So obviously, your point, obvious, you would not use a trick to match a customer's objective with suitability. You should know that. And so again, Brian, on social media, I have people coming after me for my test-taking tricks and how ridiculous it is to use process of elimination and how ridiculous is it to use the principle of mutual exclusion. Here's another one, McLean. I just did a shared screen final with a student, and we were fine-tuning her test-taking skills, and she had an answer set where it said coupons on convertible bonds are higher than non-convertible bonds. That was choice A. Choice B, they were lower. And I told her we don't need to worry about C and D because that's not the answer. It can't be A and B in the same universe. Socrates is a dog. Socrates is a philosopher. He's either a dog or a philosopher. He can't be both. So again, my test-taking tricks are only used when you don't know the answer, right? So McLean, there are people who are all over social media going ballistic about too long to be wrong and how could you do that? And then I respond by saying, please listen to what Dean says about his test-taking tips and tricks. You only use tricks when you don't know the answer. So I don't like that you said the obvious answer, right? The obvious answer is you wake up in the morning, you don't need to know the sea that it snowed. You see snow on the ground. You could infer from that it snowed. So you wouldn't tell me that it didn't snow. You wouldn't tell me that somebody in a snow machine came by and plastered your place with artificial snow. So I don't like the way you phrase that in the chat to me because you're putting a barbell on it and you're putting in that chat opposites, and they're not opposites. They're not opposites. Let me get off my rant and give it to Brian. What do you say, Brian?
Dean and I, thank you very much for that rant. That rant was brought to you by Guru.
That rant was brought to you by Ken Fennett. That's so right. Ken Fennett made a whole video about how he hates my too long to be wrong. Get a life. Go ahead, Brian.
Dean and I both believe very strongly that suitability and knowledge of suitability is strongly correlated with your knowledge of the products. Common stock, preferred stock, corporate bonds, government bonds, municipal bonds, REITs, all of those things. You have to know the characteristics and why people buy those products, right? Only once you have the good product knowledge can you then reverse engineer it depending on how the question's asked, those sorts of things. But yes, to me, suitability comes down to objective, which then comes down to your knowledge of the products. That's the key right there.
That's right. I just did a suitability exercise with somebody, McLean, and here's what I mean by product knowledge. For fun, we would say, let's just look at the answer set before you even look at the question. And it would have an answer set like 529 Coverdale, and we go, well, it's got to be a 529 because we just know or should know that's more competitive. Now let's read the question and see if that's true. If we know that partnerships are not liquid, We can use the process of elimination and suitability questions to eliminate the partnership as being the answer. So we both agree that you got to lay the base with products, the feature and benefits of the products first. Then once you own the product intellectually, then you'll know where it would be suitable given somebody's investment objective or where it would be unsuitable given their investment objective.
That's right.
You know, if it's growth, common stocks without dividends, for example, if it's income, preferred, bonds, things like that, if it's safety of principal, treasury securities. So there are hints in the question. Brian, anything else you want to add to that?
I put a suitability guide together in my video course where I have the objectives along a time horizon with the appropriate products beneath those objectives and the associated risks associated with those products. I like that. I don't know if there's too many places where you have objective, product, and
is that just what course you have it in?
It's Series 7.
Yeah, so I have
suitability is.
Yeah, I have a suitability playlist in my YouTube, but it's for Series 7 as well. So that's why I asked you on that, Brian. But again, 65, we both agree, start with the products, make sure you own the products. We were just talking about this today, McLean. I just finished a tutoring session with somebody on 65, and they didn't intellectually own yet what is a common stock, what's a preferred stock, what's a bond. And if you don't own that, then you're going to be lost on suitability.
That's right.
Because you got to know those things. So we start bottom up. We call that bottom up, right? Bottom up products. I get sometimes McLean use the car dealer analogy. You know, we have this analogy called an investment vehicle. And the analogy of an investment vehicle is that it's going to take you on a journey from point A to point B financially. And, you know, in a car, if I tell you it's a Ferrari, it's capable of high speeds and second gear, that's different than if it's a van that you can take a soccer team to, right? So that's the thing about the analogy. So we start with owning the cars that are on our lot. And then when somebody comes into our car lot, I do a little data gathering. I go, oh, I know the car for you. You need something reliable, something that's high gas mileage. You know, I'm building an off-grid location, McLean, and, you know, my little MR2 Spider sports car is totally unsuitable to be off-grid. So, you know, I'm going to have to go buy myself a pickup truck. I haven't decided which one I'm going to buy, but I need a pickup truck. Anything else on that one, Brian?
No, I think we covered that pretty well. It's a good question. Okay. Good question.
So let's be clear. Dean is one of the few people that does teach test taking tips and tricks, but we don't use tricks unless all else fails.
And if you don't mind, if I make one commentary, this is one reason why I don't spend a whole lot of time on social media. I'm not worried about what somebody else teaches, right? Dean and I collaborate a lot because we've known each other for 30 years, and we both have the same objective in getting people past what shows up on the test. I don't care whatever anybody says about it.
Right. I try and drag them in.
You can't drag me into that.
Listen, we've helped. Listen, I don't know. Now we're dating ourselves as OGs, but we have literally helped tens of thousands of people make their mark. So, you know, I get a little exasperated when people have been doing it since yesterday or thinking that they have more expertise than we have built up over the years. All right. Take of the 63 on Saturday up on Mount Lake Terrace location.
Yes.
You know that, right?
Yes.
Oh, well,
I used to live in Mount Lake Terrace.
You know, I was thinking, well, why is he telling us that? You know, scoring 70-75 currently on the Kaplan simulated exams. I think that's okay. BD and agents seems to still be tripping me up. Any additional tips? I think it's pretty straightforward. I'll just say this. Let's talk about registration broker dealer on the state level. Is pretty easy. Do I have an office in the state? Do I have a retail customer in the state? If I have an office in the state or a retail customer, I have to register. Let me flip it. If I have no retail customers, I have no office in the state, I don't have to register. Those same rules apply to the agent. The same thing with the agent, right? I'll just real quickly use my broker dealer as an example. I had a broker dealer called Gamma Global Investments, and Gamma Global Investments was registered in Virginia and California. I did business in New York and Texas. So if the state administrator says, Dean, why is your broker dealer not registered in New York? I said, because I have no place of business and no retail clients. All my clients are institutional investors. Texas says, Dean, why don't you have a register in Texas? I said, I have no office. I have no retail clients. Virginia, I have no retail clients. I only have institutional investors, but I have a place of business in Leesburg, Virginia. So I'm going to have to register. I have to register in California because I have a place of a business and I have both institutional and retail. So I think that maybe I'm missing something, but I think that's pretty straightforward. I think the bigger thing is just don't mix up BDs with investment advisors because it's a substantially different thing. Brian, you're bored. I'm putting you back the board to you.
Okay. Yeah. Again, email me, brian@testgeekexamprep.com. I have the kind of cheat study guide.
He calls it a cheat sheet. I don't like he calls it that because I just think somebody's going to accidentally leave it at the location.
We've been calling it that since we were 12 years old. Anyway, so I have the cheat sheet or study guide for these.
Brian is kind enough to offer stuff like that. So make sure you take him up on the offer. Let me see where your email. I think I have it here somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe I have to redo my banners. I thought I had.
This one gets
sorry, Brian. It looks like I got rid of our banners that have our email addresses. I'll have to redo that.
Brian with
but send him an email, and he has a great cheat sheet that people like. Brian, the other problem, this is on video, and the other thing is that I find people watch these videos and then they send me comments like, "I want the cheat sheet." So I'm going to make a comment right now. If you want to reach out to Brian and you're watching this video for him and he wants to send it to you, fine. Do not put a comment in my YouTube saying, "Hey, I want the cheat sheet." I'm going to say, "Yeah, I just told you in the video, seek out Brian and see if he's in a good mood today."
I'd be more than happy to send it to you.
Yeah, he's a free. Oh my God, Ryan, he's getting. I feel like is that the same $10? Is that a new $10? Is that a new? Thank you. Wow. Brian and I always use the super chats to have adult beverages in your honor. So whenever I get a super chat, I tell that test taker that we will use it in their honor. All right, let's see. Well, boy, gee, I got behind here with my little
We got a couple of nice bottles of wine last Sunday.
Yeah. We did. Yeah, we did. Inglenook, which is used to be like a jug wine, and the Coppo family bought it and put it back to its premium level. Let me see where we're at here. We did that one. Yeah, I have a whole podcast series. I'll link it in the video description. Brian and I collaborated on it. So Brian and I did a beautiful podcast series on the 66. How many episodes we got? 4, I think, or 5?
4, I believe. Yeah,
4 episodes. So go to the playlist, and you'll see a podcast series that Brian and I did. 4 episodes. Brian's got up 2 of them on his channel already. I sent him the 3, and I think he's going to have it there available as well. When Kaplan sets up practice exams, is it from the entire Q Bank, or is it weighted according to the real exam? It is not weighted according to the real exam, but there is a breakdown. I'll try and find it, McLean, but Kaplan does backstage have a weighting, but it's close, but it's not actual spot on.
Do the simulation.
How long are new questions tested for validity? It's usually several weeks. There's no date. It's just somebody they meet and say, okay, it counts. Do you suggest answering while you go, or just find out after taking a simulated exam? Do you suggest showing? I don't. So here again, I am a little different, and I'll let Brian comment. So I think that one of our goals should be to get through as many practice questions as we possibly can. And when you show the answer, let's say you show the answer, McLean, and I do not show the answer, and we both have a study block of 90 minutes. I'm going to get through lots more questions than you are. And it's counterintuitive, but I'm trying to miss as many questions as I can. And so I'm a believer in not showing the answer. Now, if you're starting out, you want to show the answer, fine. Again, this is an area where, whatever makes you more comfortable. Me, I like to try and get through as many questions as I can. I don't like wasting time on things I already know. This is my concept of the intellectual inventory. Now, I know, McLean, there are people who disagree with me, and perhaps it may be Brian. We'll find out in a minute. I do know there are some people who think that you should confirm in the rationale that indeed it the way that it's being explained and you didn't get lucky. Here's what I don't like about that. When it comes to math and things like that, there are lots of ways to consistently get the right answer. And sometimes I don't like that rationale because you may have done it correctly, and then, they'd have it some different way, and now you're getting wobbly, like parity, something like that. So I suggest we don't show the answer Maybe in the beginning, if that makes you comfortable. And the reason I don't want you to do, there's two reasons. It slows you down and you end up spending time on things you already know. Whereas if you don't do that, then you can do it. Now in a simulated exam, I think that's the way to go, followed by remediation. Brian, your comments on what I just said.
It's pretty much the same thing too. But again, the way Ms. Michelin asked this, and again, it's a great question to ask. I use the custom quizzes while I'm building a base, right? And again, I've already described that. After each unit, you're doing 10, 12 questions after each unit, and then cumulatively building that up throughout the textbook, right? And then we need to distill that. Now that you've got a foundational base, we need to distill it and concentrate on the core content of the exam. It doesn't matter which one. They all have core content that everybody gets questions on, right? And that's what the video course is. That's the bridge between the text and the real test. Now, so once you got the base, you then consolidate, concentrate on testable material. Now you want to evaluate where you are. You do not use custom quizzes here. Dean and I have both found that the simulated exams for Kaplan, my practice finals, have a very strong correlation. Do they exactly match the outline breakdown of the real test? No, but they're pretty close. And again, the scores tend to be pretty close too. So I think the custom quizzes are great when you're laying the foundation. But once you've gotten that base and you've consolidated to test, because now that's what we're concentrating on. Just like the gentleman who just asked, I'm still getting problems with broker dealers agents. That's core content. That's stuff we need. We're not going to go deep dive into the custom quizzes, 147 questions on broker dealers and agents. You really want to get twisted, do 147 pages on broker dealers and agents, right? So now, after the consolidation, you just want to evaluate, and then remember performance tracker, find the weak areas, simulate, evaluate, do the performance tracker. I hope
remediation, right?
I don't like doing 5,000 questions on anything.
That's right.
I can't tell you where the right number is, whether it's 1,000 or 2,000. There's no magic.
Well, Michelin, I'm a little different than most. I do think that I'm on the high side of that, because if I were your corporate trainer, let me just give you backstage at a corporate training situation. I would know as a corporate trainer, there's a direct relationship to QBank usage and passing. And the first thing when somebody misses their mark, I can't track you backstage watching videos and reading the book. The activity I can track as a corporate trainer is your activities doing practice questions, because I have an administrative function where I can actually see, when you're on your Kaplan portal doing whatever you're doing. And then if I'm a corporate trainer and you miss the mark, if you get, like we had somebody missed it by a point, as a corporate trainer, we know that happens, and you're going to get response, or we're going to send you down there again. But if you get below a 60, that's a knowledge deficit problem. And you can rest assured, I'm going to punch up your QBank, and almost always what we find is you weren't building the base. You weren't doing the quizzes. You weren't doing those practice tests. So I'm on the high side of that. I personally, as a test taker, it's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. But in my buffet as a test taker, I always have on my agenda trying to exhaust the practice questions I have available to me. Now, Brian's right. In Kaplan, that could be 5,000 questions, and I would have to figure out what pace would keep me on that. But, does it have to be complete exhaustion? No. I find more often than not, if I were a corporate trainer backstage and did 60, 70, the scores were good, you'd be in good shape.
Yep.
I like it. That's right where you need to be. Let's get those 75s and keep those coming.
Exactly.
Make sure, Drew, you get a good night's sleep. 78 is fantastic. 73 better. You're looking good. I have no reason to believe that we're not going to hear from you Tuesday with you made your mark. Cynthia, yay! Hey, I apologize, Cynthia. I'm barely holding it together, and I haven't even had a chance to respond to your wonderful email. If anybody deserves to make their mark, it is you. I am so happy for you. Hey, I'm just glad to have been able to help you make your mark. I just love it when people make their mark and they can get on with the other things in their career and their life. I'm so happy for you. So happy. By the way, victorious test taker in the house, you're always welcome to join us. It's good for motivation. So if you're taking these exams, I don't know why you wouldn't want to believe Dean and Brian, but if you want to get independent confirmation, Cynthia may make herself available. Hi, guys. Oh, I'm so jealous of other people's profile pictures. Look how happy Israel is.
Wow. My goodness.
I mean, man, I'd be afraid to have a profile picture like that because if I was having a bad day, I'd, people say, what are you? You have a smile.
That's a Hollywood shot there. My goodness.
Yeah. Having registration stuff, big registration stuff. As we said, Israel, there's registration of securities, registration of broker dealers, agents of broker dealers, investment advisor reps. It's a lot of stuff. I don't have a tip or trick for that. I'm sorry, except the tips and tricks of any kind of a test taking scenario. I would say I believe it's more about NASA exams than any other exams. And again, I always say this: RTFQ, RTFA. Read the full question, read the full answer set. I think of the NASA exams, Brian. So I don't think Brian is right what I'm going to say. I think Israel, the NASA exam is kind of like going to see a play. And if I'm in New York and I'm seeing a play, they give me a playbill. And in that playbill, I have the cast of characters. Sometimes I have the acts and the scenes. And, what I like to think of these NASA exams is, who are the cast of characters? What I mean by RTFQ, I read that question. I say, okay, who is this question about? Is this question about a security? Is it about a person, natural, unnatural, broker, dealer? Who is this question about? Then I like to read the answer sets and say, okay, what answers are being available to me? And if you get good, we were talking about triangulating up base. Sometimes you can project the right answer and say, okay, what do I think the answer is before I shop the answer set? I had a young lady and I thought it was funny, Brian. I covered up the answer set and said, let's project what we think is the right answer. And she gave me the most vulgar, correct answer I've ever heard. I mean, talk about a street answer. And I said to her, Israel, you are correct. That is the right answer. But now when I do the reveal, that is not how NASA is going to say that. And so now we got to put that into the legalese of NASA. And so that would be one thing I would do with you. We just went over, Israel, Brian did on his dry erase board, about registration of securities and the buckets there. And I would think of the same thing. We went over registration of broker dealers a little bit previously. So make sure you rewind. We have sections where we've done that. I think about the only thing we didn't do is registration of investment advisor reps. Brian?
Yeah. Again, email me, Israel, for the cheat sheet on registration of persons.
There you go. Brian's in a giving mood tonight.
You know what you just described, young man? I do the same thing. It's like I cover up the answers and say, what do you know? That's what I mean. That's what I tell people. Stay with what you know. You take the test. Don't let those answers intimidate you. That's exactly what I tell people. Yeah.
Whose minds wander? No, Micheline, I don't know what to tell you about that. You have any tips for might want? I kind of like that, Micheline. I like people whose minds wander. I think they're interesting minds. Well, I know there are people, Micheline, that I guess we could Google who say things like you should study the same time each day in the same location each day. There's somebody who said that. I call it study blocks and where you're doing them at the office. So I know there are some suggestions. Is this another $10? I can't tell if Ryan keeps giving us more $10 or if I'm accidentally hitting the same $10. I'll total up, Brian. I'm not sure how much we got so far. I think it's the same. Maybe they stream here. No, I think it's more than 110. Well, Brian, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Study for the Series 7 unit on option spreads is giving me trouble. There is a specific playlist, Parker, and I will link that in the video description for you. I call it Don't Hate the 8. There's 8 test questions about spreads. Can you identify the spread? Can you determine debit or credit, exercise or expire, widen or narrow, max gain, max loss, break even, bullish or bearish? Don't hate the 8. Those are the 8 test questions. And indeed, I do have more than one video on spreads, and I will link it in the video description for you. By the way, you could also go to the channel search bar, put spreads, and a gazillion videos will come up. You could also go to the option playlist, but I will link that for you. Brian, could you please draw out the ex-dividend and record date timeline using T+1? I don't know if he wants to do it. He's certainly welcome to, but Jocelyn, we just said nobody's going to see it.
That's right.
You want to honor the request, Brian? Or?
Well, look by the end of this week on my YouTube channel, and that's exactly where I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you where it affects, most likely affects the test, when it affects the test, and how to now think about it. I'll redraw out the X dates and record dates for you.
Yeah, so basically, Jocelyn, DERP has gone bye-bye. Yep. And so as we said earlier, we went over a whole overview of this. I'll just give you an example. If the record date is Thursday, September 16th, that's when the company, the corporation, will look at their shareholder list. And if you're on the date, owner on that date, you get the dividend. If you're not on that list on that date, you don't get the dividend. Thursday, September 16th. With T+1 now being the case, if you buy that on Wednesday, you would be on the shareholder list. So what was formerly the X date is no longer the X date. Right? Because if you buy it on, in my example, the 13th, T+1, you're on the shareholder list. If you buy it on the 14th, you're not going to be on the shareholder list until Friday. So the X date is now the same as the record date. The first date on which the stock is no longer trading with the dividend attached is going to be the same as the record date. Am I blowing your mind, Brian? You don't think that's correct? You look like you're...
I think the ex-dividend date is the trade date.
No. Trade date is when we agree to terms. That is not when ownership changes.
Right.
And the X date is not based on trade date. It's always been based and still is on settlement because that's when ownership changes hands. So
record date equals X date.
Now true, right? So you buy it on the record date. Are you an owner on that date, Brian? You are not.
No, I'm not. That's so the first day of trade. That's right. You're right. My apologies. Yep. So the record date equals the ex-dividend date.
That's right. That's right. Jocelyn, I will be doing the same thing as Brian on his channel. I'm going to make a little with some practice questions. I'm going to go through 5, 6, 7 practice questions. I'm going to write on that. So, but again, I just want to stress to everybody, nobody is going to see these.
That's correct.
We'll be seeing these for weeks. So, Brian, email. They want to repeat your email.
Yes, Brian.
Put it on the board for him, please, Brian, and I'll make us a banner. I don't know what happened to our banners. I had banners with all that stuff. All right, looks like we're coming to the end of our hour. Oh, look at that. Somebody else wants Brian's email. Man, nobody wants my email. Gee, I'm hurt.
Oh, stop.
Oh,
1 million views.
General Security Principal in the house. All right, Oscar. Woohoo. Is there a way to watch a set playlist using a mobile device? Yes, YouTube is available on mobile devices. So, you know, you just go to the playlist and it'll queue it up and order for you. So, well, look at that. More emails for Brian. Oh, my God. Jesus.
There it is.
Man.
They want the cheat sheet.
There you go. Is that it? It's not true love for you?
Which is good. I like it. It's all.
Cynthia, Michelina, Cynthia has some suggestions there for you. My mind wanders. We got another mind wanderer. We got to come up with a maybe a Facebook group or something for wandering minds. Oh, I like it. So another recommendation. I love that, Lady Brill. So Lady Brill says she uses a stopwatch to time her study time, and then that way, every time I look up from studying, my eyes wander while I space, and I see the clock, and it brings me back. I like that. That's a great recommendation.
There you go.
I like that. I want to report just past Series 7. Woohoo! Yay, yay, yay. Sorry, no problem. Not a problem whatsoever. Jocelyn, you can rewind it. And then I'm also going to cut and splice it. I'm going to make it a separate video. When Brian does some good work on the board, or we have issues like that, what I do is afterwards I splice it, and I have a playlist called Ask the Series 7 Guru. And it's a podcast, and you can find it there, and you'll be able to find it in my series. Oh, Sinatra. You're going to put Hawthorne, and then you did Sinatra instead.
I did.
I checked out folks on weak areas. There we go. Okay, so it's time now for our drawing. Let me bring up our giveaway device. And use another account. Boom. I don't know why it keeps asking me, Brian, to provide information that I usually have this as a shortcut.
Uh-oh.
Am I still here?
There you are. You are. There you go. You're back.
Okay, so let me go get the giveaway tool. Let's try it this way. And we're putting Sinatra in there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you got to put it into the chat exactly as Brian or I have it on the board. And now let me go find you guys again. Let me get the shared screen. Window. Ooh, what a mess that is. There we go. We'll move that over there.
Whoops.
Let me go back over here. I apologize. I'm not as technically as literate as I should be on this. Let me try that one more time. Maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe it's not meant to be, but let's try it one more time. Okay. Share screen. There we go. All right.
There you go.
Okay. We got 10 entries. Let me get rid of Cynthia there. Let's get her off the page.
We don't mean that figuratively, Cynthia.
Yeah, well, let's get that out of here. I don't know why this stuff is showing up. Boom. All right. Any others? Now, remember what you have a choice of. If you win the drawing, send me an email at Series 7 Guru, guruexamprep.com, and you have a choice of unethical business practices, an evening class I'm going to be doing, or an evening class on balance sheet. You can share it if you'd like. So if you can't use it or you want to do something else, then you can do that. The other thing, Brian, I'm going to start doing is if you win the drawing, I'm also going to open up your eligibility for my free office hours. About every other week, I do a free office hour. And so remind me and I'll make that available to you as well. All right, here we go with the drawing.
And the winner is
Marcel.
No,
Madison. All right, Madison. Okay, so Madison, send me email at Series 7 Guru, guruexamprep.com, and we will get you set up with the link for your choice of unethical business practices or balance sheet calculations, whatever class you'd like to join us for. And Brian, I always say inch by inch, your exam is a cinch. And you, Brian, say?
Keep it simple. Stay with what you know. You take the test. Don't let the test take you.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday. If for some reason you didn't get your quest answered, send it to explication request at guruexamprep.com, and we'll take care of it for you that way. All right, everybody. Bye-bye. See you next Tuesday.
Bye-bye.